cease only to the sea. Cause when your dollars is a millions, be so ignorant to what we could achieve.
So them a tell us that our life is free, but when we walk the street, them want ID. And if in country where no man me can see, them still be watching me on CCTV. This propaganda that deny us choice. One giant hand and mouth to stop them voice. But we can shout out with a voice so clear. If we together then we feel no fear.
Do you know that just to live your life today, 1,000 souls must die in every single way. Just to sustain the way that you live the thinking head. You seem so surprised when someone you react. How can we live if we can barely breathe? Government sees only to the sea. But when your dollars is a million, we so ignorant to what we could achieve.
All good.
We don't want nothing from Babylon. No satisfied till flames take Vatican. Slave master vanish like magician. We no ease up, we no dirty politician.
Genocide can't be just tolerated. It just can't be something we see on the news. It has to be real to people, and that's why we're here today.
Can't take way out of the motherland.
Same Labour Party. And the Labour Party is complicit with the genocide of the Palestinian people.
Yeah, we keep pushing till all Babylon attach. Knees never buckle, yet them off is steadfast.
Politicians who are supporting genocide, who aren't standing up, they're no vocal, they haven't made a declaration on Gaza and the deaths in Gaza. What we need to do is to say to them, well, we're not going to vote for you. It's as simple as that.
Out of the belly of the beast, Star Trek. One trip we from them, I go see the progress. Put to head, no other judge a project. We don't want nothing from Babylon. No satisfied till flames take Vatican. Slave master vanish like magician. We no ease up, we no dirty politician.
Buenos días. Buenos. a sparse attendance. I did not expect to see you, the Sicilian traveller. There you go, eh? But nobody was here, eh? Well, whoever is here or isn't here, I'm here. That's all that matters, eh? Once again, once more into the fold. Morning Sharpie, morning Nigel Smith. It was a pleasure. This is Miguel's, this is the second half of Miguel's mix, which I promise Miguel, I'll put the link to. But I noticed that this is Battle of the Zoo, or Abi Habibi, or Ayman Bannister, I got this track off him before it was released years ago. He played it to me and I begged him to send it to me. I was like, give me that track. And the version that he gave me was quite low, so I totally fannied around and like normalised it and that because I wanted to play it when I was in the gym. Somewhere I could do it going more regularly at the minute. But check this, it's a belter. Trauma is the name of this track, and I'm telling you, it's a fucking topper. It's a topper. Let's just tune in for a moment. It's that vibe, isn't it? Let me have a look here. I've got a bunch of notifications. I'll check these out now.
I was floating round town when I seen that little clown come in.
I was floating around town when I seen that little clown come in.
Quickly declared he was turning. In search of something more, in search of something different. Some kind of reason to life. God, nature, the earth, everything. I was floating around town when I seen that little clown come in. He was looking kind of scared. Quickly declared he was yearning. In search of something more, only love can explain it. With an empty bag of hope, his face was laced with tears. This trauma infects us all. Trauma.
This should be the soundtrack to Dan McGarvey's book, Trauma Industrial Complex.
Infects us all.
He's got a tune for it.
Trauma's trauma. Infects us all. Trauma's trauma. Infects us all. Trauma's trauma. Infects us all. Trauma infects us all. Trauma infects us all. Trauma.
Right, anyway.
Trauma.
Belter. Right, anyway. It sounds good in my headphones, so fuck knows how it sounds for where you are. Right, let's get to writing about it. It's another mad time as we hurtle towards the eschaton, or the end of the world, however you want to perceive it. Guten Morgen to you, John McFadden, and morning to you, Victoria Burns. Actually, you caught the start of the show there. Your kind, grand presence was in the first video there when you had assisted me against the parasitic Labour candidate up in Oxgangs. Okay, so what's going down? There was a horrendous attack at a synagogue yesterday, and as a result of that, we've had a kind of explosion of reaction targeted at the. We've got an example of it here. There's an account here who is a reactionary. There is such a thing as a good Hun, right, or like a good Rangers supporter. Dare I expose that the very mix we are listening to right now is curated by one of those few good Huns. So, what can we say? Some of them have got a great taste in music. But this guy here, JYHYCN, is a monumental prick. He's one of those people that I noticed there that he follows me and I follow him because, unlike the cowards, so maybe he's not that much of a coward, I don't know, because I don't really like blocking people. and I don't necessarily follow his account. I don't see his posts unless he interacts with me, which he's chosen to do this morning. Now, I had responded to this Andrew Bowie, absolutely disgusting, on Today of all days. So there seemed to be a consensus among reactionaries yesterday that pro-Palestinian protesters, anti-genocide protesters, those who committed to the pursuit of Palestinian liberation should have ceased their protests against the genocidal state of Israel yesterday because of this attack that happened in the UK in Manchester. Now, logic, there's just where we ended up. I mean, this is the nature of what the X, right? We're trying to deal with the most serious global issues, whilst at the same time I'm subject to a barrage of abuse for saying that there's such a thing as good Huns, a few good Huns, and I've been told to delete my account. There is no such thing. Lies. At the Pope must excommunicate. You know, as a result of my papal origins are being being rubbished as a result of this statement. I'm just trying to get us all to get along, man. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, but such is the way. But there seems to be this consensus that the Palestinian protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters, should have ceased to protest the genocide yesterday because of the attack on the synagogue. Now, many people make this point that by doing so, this essentially equates the whole of Israel as being part of the Zionist entity, or all Jews as being part of the Zionist entity, I suppose. So there's no delineation there. And I think that it's a reasoned argument to make. It seems that conflating all Jews with Israel, with the actions of Israel, with the Zionist terrorists, in itself seems to be somewhat anti-Semitic. We know there is an entire section of Hasidic Jews and whatnot who are vehemently opposed to the actions of the Israeli state. So, you know, this poses some interesting questions. And but what does this chap here say? Now this is another thing, and this is a common reaction that I've noticed is continually over the last 2 years, but certainly in the light of yesterday's horrific attack, is those who are keen, those who are so hostile to Palestinian protesters or pro-Palestine protesters, or however you might want to describe them. It's not enough for them to deal with the material facts in front of them. They have to elaborate and lie. So this account here is a liar. This is an outrageous statement to make. He says on October the 7th, 2023, Bob celebrated the murder, rape and kidnapping of Jews by Hamas. He's been crying about the retaliation ever since the retaliation, which is the most horrific Holocaust. A starvation, an obliteration of a people, a destruction of an entire landscape, the destruction of every university, every hospital, the murder of tens of thousands of innocent children, mothers, babies, people, limbs being lost left, right and centre. A genuine idiot who is part of the problem. I think it's a sort of rhetorical sort of attack here. I think a very strange type of person, this, you know. But not uncommon in this peculiar paradigm that we're in. I'm going to try and touch on a few things this morning. Let me know if that music's too loud, by the way. As usual, could do a wee audio check. But, you know, what you'll notice is that it's not enough. It's not enough just to look at what's going on. There has to be this... it's essentially exaggeration and lies and falsification, and this freak Jai HC which is what he really is, you know, a reactionary freak. It's very telling, you know, a few of them. I mean, presumably this is him on some kind of windswept walk, or I don't know, maybe it's not, I don't know. But they're never particularly. Right, there we go. I'll bring the wee tunes down a wee bit there. They're never particularly keen to show who they are. I don't quite know what the reasons for that is. But you know, everybody who's online is going to be subject to this type of madness. This is the pathology that we're all participants in. That's what the X is about, really, isn't it? It's about coming together to look at to re-inject a degree of the public tribunal into the marketised town square, as Musk would call it, you know. Apparently this is the town square, so, you know, let's try and embody part of that, which would be, you know, to bring in the opinions of others, if you like, or to share what we see collectively, try to work things out together. However, this idea that I celebrated the murder, rape and kidnapping of Jews by Hamas is just an abhorrent, ridiculous thing to say. A disgusting thing to say, obviously, an offensive thing to say perhaps, but just a lie, really, just a lie. So JHC, JYHYCN is categorically a liar. And a Hun, a dirty lying Hun. That's what you are. There you go. But he's far from the only one. Okay, let's continue to look at what was going on here. Massey was another one. So let's get things into context, because this is the sort of music one might listen to whilst driving up the motorway to watch your team play Aloha. The Sevco years. So what happened yesterday as well was that the global flotilla, which was this, you know, group of humanitarians, if you like. Now I'm going to be quite clear about this whole flotilla thing. I haven't given it a huge amount of thought. Perhaps there's now the time to try to do that. Greta Thunberg is on this flotilla. We'll look at some of the footage hopefully in a few minutes and see what's what. And it had like a bunch of influencers and stuff on it, didn't it? Or like social media personalities. We had the guy Taig Hickey, the Irish guy. Carsey Branton, is it? Bryson, I can't remember her second name. That singer, she's a great singer. And then a whole bunch of people, some of them with quite large social media profiles, who have been ardently for the cause. And there's a swathe of cynicism towards these people. And they're being dismissed as virtue signallers, and you know, they're being criticised in the most, you know, dismissed and criticised. But really, the truth is this: these people are brave. They've got on these boats. I don't think probably any of them really thought that they were maybe going to get through to Gaza. It's highly unlikely. But what they have done is they have shone a light on it. They have drawn attention to it, where we are deluged by propagandist media trying to distract us from the reality of what's actually occurring there. And that is an incredibly important thing for people to do, and it is a brave thing for them to do as well. And I don't think it is futile. I think it's significant, and it makes me think very much of the battle for apartheid. If anybody's familiar with the apartheid protests that took place, they took on many forms. Boycotts were a massive part of it, and boycotts in sport and whatnot. And obviously what we've seen is the difference between what happened in the 80s and what's happening now in Palestine. It's a different ballgame altogether now. But the fact is that when we had the movement against apartheid, there was an incredible documentary about maybe a decade or so ago. It was in about 6 parts, and it kind of it comprehensively looked at all the different component parts of protest that contributed to the eventual overthrow of that South African regime, and it was really interesting to see how small actions and how the actions of individuals and groups, especially in areas of like sport and stuff, it was really quite fascinating, and it really made me think of this flotilla. And there's a lot to be said for raising awareness, and I think there's also a lot to be said about, over these last 2 years, the armchair generals, the armchair snide armchair pessimists and whatnot, and cynics. They dismiss everybody in the, you know, the sort of left, if you like, or the leftist kind of near. You know, we have our own issues with them structurally and politically. But when it comes to this particular issue, I think, you know, it's important to show solidarity on this issue. There is no other question. It's a question of human rights. It's a fundamental question of humanity. And a lot of these people, you know, you'll always get these arseholes that'll be like, if you're so concerned about it, why don't you fuck off to Palestine and go and fight there for the Palestinians or something like that? Well, in their own way, that's what some of these people have done. They've put themselves on a vessel, on a boat, you know, and they've gone out there and they've sailed to as close to the place as they possibly could. I don't know what else you could ask people to do to kind of to demonstrate their integrity to the cause. And it is true that they may be, you know, delusional. Some of them may have thought, I'm going to be going to the shores of Gaza and handing out milk or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't say for sure. But the fact is that these people have gone and they've done that, and they've now been apprehended and arrested by Israel, and they are being called terrorists by Ben-Gvir and people like this. We understand, for those of us with cognition that still is able to sort of rationalise between what we perceive reality to be and fiction, that the Israeli state is involved in probably the most comprehensive disinformation and propaganda campaign in history. And the battleground is social media, as admitted by Netanyahu himself, which we'll look at footage of as well. So I think we have to be logical and honest about what is actually occurring here, and not afraid to criticise or to challenge those people who are so intent on rubbishing the decisions and actions of these people, of these brave people. I think it's worth saying, right? So let's just continue a wee bit into what's been going on, because it's gone mental. Let's be honest about this. Alex Massey, who obviously kind of came to the forefront during the Scottish independence referendum as an ardent unionist, a kind of reactionary guy, and this is another aspect of the lies. This is something that I want to focus on. How many of these individuals are so keen to lie? Wankers cosplaying as revolutionaries, plus, of course, a fair sprinkling of Jew-hating scum. How does he evidence this? How does he ascertain that these people hate Jews? I don't know how he wants to explain that. You know, how does he justify making a statement like that? Because it's a common statement. We'll see other examples of it. We'll see other examples of this. It's that old denial check. The floater shows the folk criticising it for what they are. See you next Tuesdays. A whole lot of see you next Tuesdays, eh? Niall Fraser's. I like this. Greetings for Hong Kong, you rages. Where else would we get? Where else would we get greetings from Hong Kong on a Friday morning? You are watching What the X, apparently. You can You can follow me on Instagram if you can read what it says there. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and donate if you can. Give us some money so we can keep the stream going. Share it. Tell folk. Sorry, I'm trying to control my volumes here. I'll be back in 1 second. Didn't go anywhere, eh? I'll be back. Nice mix, aye, but a bit overpowering on the levels. Right, alright, we'll try it. We're doing our best. It's a one-man operation here. How does Bob find so many topical names every week that begin with X? I surprise myself, I have to be honest. Kevin McKenna. I struggle with Kevin. I like Kevin, but we didn't agree on this, and I didn't know what's up with it. I don't know what is up with this, right? Lacking any real socialist values, the dilettante left across Scotland and the UK have helped normalise anti-Semitism. Today, we saw its consequences. Can we get some input on this, right? What do we make of this? What do we make of this? You're all a bunch of jokers, eh? What do we make of this? How is it all right for us to be getting the first live streamed genocide in history, to have been born witness to the incomprehensible levels of inhumanity that Israel have meted on that populace, and somehow for the people who are out there, you know, let's go into the false flag thing, okay? I'm not particularly a subscriber to this, but you know, on the day that the flotilla reached Israel is the day that they have an incident, okay? The conspiracists will be jumping around like mad over this, you know. And you know, I don't know how anybody can defend the state of Israel in this current situation. I don't understand how there is a sense that if you are pro-Palestine, you are anti-Jew. I think that so many people are able to make the distinction between Zionists and Jews and those who are citizens of Israel who are undoubtedly opposed to what their government are doing in their name. There are protests in Israel, even though it is illegal to protest apparently to do so. I mean, that's like basically saying all Scottish folk are Huns because the Huns act like a bunch of cunts. Is that a fair comparison? I mean, there's what kind of statement is this? These protesters have went out last night because there's 400 odd activists on that flotilla who have all been arrested by Israel. What do you think? That's what makes me think. What is McKenna's agenda? Well, let me tell you. I spoke to Kevin McKenna on the phone a couple of weeks ago, maybe three or 4 weeks ago, when he phoned me about this Hibs thing. It was like a Sunday morning or something. And we spoke about Hibs, we spoke about Edinburgh, we spoke about my experiences of the city, what's going on. We had a nice conversation. And I said to Kevin, Kevin, why have you not spoken about the horrific number of Palestinian journalists that have been eliminated in this way? Why? These are your contemporaries. These are your professional contemporaries. And Kevin McKenna told me on the phone. He said to me on the phone that he was constructing an email to the National Union of Journalists in respect of this. So I would like to see Kevin, and he sent me a message as well, saying that he had, because I had said something online. I said, why are you so silent on this issue? Why? And he said that he had, he sent me an email, he sent me a message where he had put an article, and it was about when the new Pope came in and how the new Pope was going to have to manage this horrific situation in Gaza. And he was presenting this as an example of his contribution to standing against this. Well, if you're a socialist, you're opposed to war, unless it's a class war. And I want to know how this has normalised anti-Semitism. Katrina Grant says, no, Kevin, you are wrong. Genocide is wrong. Anti-Semitism is wrong. Murder is wrong. And all these things can be true at the same time. Socialists have never supported genocide or anti-Semitism. I mean, I have to be very a few years ago, these leftists, some of the leftists the same leftists that Kevin is talking about, he calls them the dilettante left. I call them the neoliberal left, or they're liberals. They think they're socialists, but they're not. But on this matter, on the question of Palestine, they have, They know which side they know where to fall on. They know where they should stand. I was accused of being anti-Semitic by some of these people. These horrific little bastards, Vampire Castle, shitheads. And of all the things that I've ever been accused of, that fucking bothered me, because I found that abhorrent. I was outraged, even if it was on the ecosystem of the online shit posting ecosystem or whatever. They because I was talking about gentrification, and I mentioned that the bagel shop in Leith was a sort of early indicator of the shifting changes, and they decided, such was their contempt towards me, that they basically says, right, because you associate bagels as being a Jewish cuisine or whatever, Jewish food, that I was anti-Semitic. That's what they said, and they didn't. And you know what the Vampire Castle lot are like. Once they get hold of something and they pour petrol over it. And I was really angry. One of my, I'm going to tell you a wee story. No, I'm not going to tell you a wee story, but that bothered me. Victoria Burns was meant to be at the demo last night. Guy on my friends list on Instagram calling us all rats for the demo yesterday. Bam. I don't get it. What have we got here? "53 Palestinians killed in Israel attacks in Gaza since dawn." Okay, I will tell you. Tell us. Okay, I'll tell you. What happened was this. When I was about 13, I went to a different school, right? 13 or 14. And there was a guy I met in the first week or something at that new school. And he called people Jew boy, right? And I never knew what it meant. I never knew what it meant. And then one night, within the first week or something that I was there, and I called my brother. My brother was being a cunt to me, which wasn't unusual. And I called him a Jew boy. And my fucking old man leathered me like I'd never been leathered in my life before. And when he was leathering me, he was fucking going on about Kristallnacht. I never ever called anybody that ever again, and I fucking learnt that lesson. And I don't think it's right to knock your bairns about, but that's the story. I soon learned the significance, and I understood what anti-Semitism was and is. And I think that a lot of people understand. And that's why I find these attempts to smear pro-Palestinian protesters as anti-Semitic, I find them suspicious. And I'll tell you what else I find them: coordinated. I'll be back shortly.
Today's guest, Richard Barbrook, is probably best known for his breakthrough essay, The California Ideology. His book, Imaginary Futures, looks at the way fantasies of the future have been used to steer society toward particular, usually market-based and exploitative outcomes.
But the thing is, actually, it's more subversive now, the internet, than it's ever been 20 years ago.
Well, subversive in what sense? In the sense that Russians can hack American elections? Or?
No, the fact that we almost destroyed the Conservative Party in this last election. And that was, it was Facebook which did it. Almost the entire media is absolutely hates the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, because he's a socialist. All the mainstream media hate him, all the Tory media, right-wing media, and the liberal left
Which
media.
was very confusing. I mean, we were just talking about that before. The Guardian hated him. Why would the
don't
Guardian...
of course they hated him.
Why would they hate him?
Because he's a socialist and they're liberals. So we had all the media against us, and yet we managed to go, we got from being 20% behind to 2% behind. And instead of having a Tories winning a landslide, they've now got a minority government.
And isn't that partly a reaction to Trump and Brexit and all that?
No, it's to do with the fact that people have smartphones. You know, you can use, you know, people are doing blogs, people are doing Facebook posts. We made a game, another guy I know made a film, which, you know, this guy who called Bonnie Prince Bob, who's a Scottish guy, he did a sort of science fiction film set in the future about the great Corbyn government. It's very funny. You will prove that, especially under a left-wing Labour government, every parliamentarian has to take DMT to make sure they have empathy with the population. It's a very funny. It's called Jeremy Bernard Corbyn, What Was Done. Right? It's a very funny film. He got 1 million views of this film.
And I don't know how many people present in this room have confronted the thing I'm talking about. I always, at this moment, am aware that some people are saying, my, doesn't he perfectly get it? And other people are saying, huh? What is this? What is this guy talking about? The point I want to make is it's real. It's not vague. You don't have to strain for it. Nobody wonders whether or not it happened to them. It's just like somebody walking up to you and taking you by the arm and saying, there's something I insist on showing you. Come this way, please. And it was the presence of the entities that shattered the person who I was, because I was a scientific rationalist, a reductionist. I had no room for elves in my cosmology. And here they were, hundreds of them. So it seems to me that this is a central question that shamanism has always dealt with, perhaps not with the kind of ontological sophistication that we imagine ourselves to have, but this is the question that must be asked. Who's in there? Who is this? There are at least 3 possibilities, and I'm not sure which is the most conservative. The first possibility is that we don't understand how the world is constructed, and that, in fact, there is a parallel universe running alongside of ours, full of elves who use a language to make objects. And then why you can burst through to this place on this one drug, then each explanation raises a lot of questions. Then the other possibility is, this is the Jungian possibility. And Jung, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the later things, he talks about these elves because of the Kibiri. The Kibiri are the alchemical children that appear in Act 3 of Faust, that Jung spent a lot of time on these alchemical Kibiri and the question of the homunculus. And he says at one place, I think he says, he describes them as autonomous psychic elements that have escaped from the control of the ego. This is a weird way to go about it. I mean, it's probably an accurate description, but how much does it tell us, It means that the psyche is to be visualized as a half-gallon of mercury, and when we throw it on the floor, the mercury balls up and spreads everywhere, and each ball of mercury you look at, by gad, it has a little face looking back at you. That's because Mercury is a mirrored surface. You're looking at your own psyche shattered into thousands of pieces around you. Another possibility, and one I leaned toward for years, and I still lean toward, because I've noticed the radical nature of your explanation diminishes with the distance since the last time you smoked DMT. The longer it's been, the more likely you are to have some humdrum notion that you can pour it into. So the humdrum notion that I settled on was, well, clearly these are just extraterrestrials. They don't come in silver ships demanding to be taken to the National Defense Agency. This is how they come. Why they come this way, who knows? They're coming through mind. Mind is the medium in which they travel. Where do they come from? Who knows? Can it even be located in the Newtonian space-time matrix? I mean, what do you want here? A star catalog number? Would that satisfy you? And then finally, and I think I've exceeded my number of possible explanations, and then finally the explanation, which is my current favorite, it's a little disturbing, and I haven't quite figured out what to do with it, but I have a sense we're on the right track here. The reason the DMT space feels so peculiar, both alien and excruciatingly familiar, is because these things in this other place represent what I call an ecology of souls. This place is the one place you never thought you were going to make a visit to and come back to chat it around the coffee maker. They're dead. That's who these things are. This is the realm of the dead. Well, I have to confess, in all of my psychedelic voyaging and idea mongering and all of that, I never was able to go that far, to reach that far in my imagination. It sort of had to be presented to me. But if you go to shamans worldwide and talk to them about their spirit helpers and say, what's the deal with this? Who are these things? And they say, oh, these are the ancestors. Didn't you know? These are the ancestors. It's perfectly cut and dried and normal.
Right then, still here. I tell you what, those donations, keep them coming in. I can't thank you all enough. In fact, let me stick, because I tell you what, right? I'm no stupid. Where's mine here? If you're on Twitter, X, and you're in the chat, there you go, there's the link to that. Anybody's feeling generous. There's, because we have, 140 viewers on X, lurking away. You just keep lurking, man, just have a wee PK. What's that cunt saying, eh? What's he fucking on about? Anyway, what's Brian Spanner, again, is it you and McComb? I don't know, we've been through this a million times. Occasional, can you subscribe monthly? You can actually subscribe. If you go to that Ko-fi site, you can set a subscription. I've been saying this for ages. That we're trying to raise a significant amount of money, but we haven't actually gone into proper crowdfund mode as yet. Just basically because we've just not really had the time to get things organised in that, because believe it or not, it's really just me and the assistance of a few other kind souls trying to get this together. But we punch, for want of a better term. But we'll get onto that. But everything is always appreciated. Mark my words. Brian Spanner, occasional reminder, if a mob of football fans had tried to storm a railway station, they would have been charged with batons and police horses. The cowardice of the state to enforce public order is a fucking joke, right? I don't really understand any of these people. To me, it's like, are they just racists? Thank you very much. Are they just racists? Are they? Because what is this statement here? What is the sentiment? The sentiment is that Palestinian lives aren't worth shit. Chomsky said it many years ago, and that famous statement, they've got nothing, they don't have any power, they don't have anything at all. And so the people just want it over and done with. You sense that there's a section of the culture there that are just like, they just want Israel to get on with the job, right? And then they can sleep better, not having to worry about this notion of these Palestinians. I mean, how many innocent people have to be murdered and killed in this way? It's absolutely insane. And yet the same sort of people, they will sort of venerate the anti-apartheid protests. You know, the anti-apartheid protests disrupted everything, everywhere, all the fucking time, as much as they could. When they were in, I think it was in New Zealand, they stole the South African rugby team's. Was it the rugby team? They took or the cricket team, one of the two. They took their coach. And somebody took the coach and drove the team out and left them on a roundabout somewhere, like middle of nowhere, like fuck yous, you know? And everybody was going, this is brilliant. And now when people stand up for humanity, anonymous ballbags on the internet are saying, oh, they should have been batting charged in that. What, for going and disrupt, you know, for making a song and dance, for making a racket about a genocide? Man, I didn't get it. I don't get it. Let's see what this okay, was it two? Okay, a new document reveals that the Israeli government is paying a cohort of 14 to 18 social media influencers between $6,100 and $7,300 per post. I wonder if anybody wants to know how much this little bastard is getting paid. After today's events, now more than ever, I'd like to reassert the fact that I am a Zionist. This is Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, like, you know, I believe in a homeland for the Jewish people and give zero fucks who that upsets. I don't say it for money. As soon as you say that, you know that that's shite. You're a liar. That's just fucking basic psychology. It's like, why are you talking about the money then? Because you're fucking getting the dollar. I don't do it. I don't say it for money. I gain nothing positive for it. Yeah, aye, right, mate. Of course you didn't, aye. Fucking shut up. So, Hodges. This afternoon, the Prime Minister said he would do everything to keep Jews safe. And this evening, thousands of people are literally roaming the streets chanting about killing Jews. Now, where is this? Is there any evidence for this? Is there any evidence for people chanting about killing Jews? Because this is a theme that they keep going to. They keep saying that this is what's happening.
Were murdered today in Manchester on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And this is what's happening at Liverpool Street Station in London. A pro-Palestine rally and they're all cheering. It's a disgrace. This is what happens when you allow anti-Semitism to be...
They're standing on the street calling for death to Jews. Are they? Are they standing on the streets calling for death to Jews? Death to Jews? Burchill and what's her name? Suzanne Moore and all that lot, man. The Groucho Club fucking alcoholics. The Groucho Club winos, you know? The 90s neoliberal culture merchants, man. Absolute fucking bunch of parasites, the lot of them. Fucking failures. This freak, Tim Farron. After the outrage in Manchester, there are people on the streets tonight chanting for the annihilation of the world's only Jewish state. I think the state of Israel needs dismantled, turned into something that's fucking not a fucking Zionist massacring entity. Then we've got the usual suspects. But isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that so many seem to be saying the same sort of stuff? Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu.
Talk about the woke right.
The woke right. What's he saying?
The woke right, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're lunatic. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media.
Propaganda. Now, wasn't there a guy in the time of Hitler's time, was it Goebbels? He was convinced of the power of propaganda, was he not? That's funny, isn't it? Somehow these comparisons just keep hitting the point, don't you think?
And the most important purchase that is going on right now is class. TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. Exactly. Very good. And, you know, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot, and I could go on other things.
So if we can acquire TikTok,
we have to,
which they have already done, and if they can acquire X, then what the X, right? This is where we're at. And we have our journalists, our so-called left commentariat, traditional left commentariat, socialists apparently, self-proclaimed socialists, defending this war criminal, this genocidal maniac, this psychopath. What do you think? Here's Rowling. Rowling, who has failed to mention anything about the plight of Palestinians. Where are we at? Are we just circling the drain of reality? I mean, my advice to every single human being is to go and acquire some dimethyltryptamine and take the 15 minutes it takes to pass through, to slip over into the other side and grasp what is potentially the reality of this life that we live. Niall. I will be 61 in November. The stinking system is clearly falling apart. We are living in a time of monsters, to badly quote Gramsci. What must it be like to be a Palestinian, to know that the entire world has abandoned you? To know that what your value is worth is the land that you're on and the resources in the sea that you can't even go in to catch a fish, and that your presence is just an inconvenience. There's no difference between what America did to the Indians, to the Native Americans. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? And what are we? Just spectators with our popcorn. Right. Let's just go a wee bit local. Let's go hyper local for the last wee while here. Because it's not like this issue is going to go away today, is it? Let's just go hyper local for a minute.
Doors Open Day this weekend. So here we are at Doors Closed Day, and this is the reason why the doors are closed. And they can see the damage that's now been caused to this building because of the incompetence of our councillors. And what's the story with this building then? Why is it not being able to be worked on? Well, what happened when I put a planning application in, I needed a relaxation for the internal staircase coming up here because they said that it was a fire escape and it needed to be enclosed. I said, it's not a fire escape, there's a fire escape down here. This area here, they said this is not a place of safety if the building goes on fire. And as you can see, it goes down and down and down and along and along and along. But they said this is not a place of safety. What happens if the river's in spate? And if you come here, you can see the height there of the flood prevention. Well, as you can see, my yard is higher than the flood prevention level. So even if the river is in spate, it's still a place of safety. But they wouldn't accept that. And this was due to corruption in the council, the mutual repairs corruption, and they moved all the personnel around. And I got a guy doing my plan reporting, whose previous job was inspecting roofs, and now he's got to do the plan reporting, and he's not got a clue, and he knows nothing about the nuances in the building regulations. So I refused to do it, and I held to my guns. So they brought in his boss, and the boss came in. Fire escape, not around, I'm having nothing to do with it. Muir Somerville, his name was. So I sponsored the baboon at Edinburgh Zoo and called it Muir Somerville and took its picture and made it to Christmas cards and I sent it around all around his office because I just thought he was not being very nice to me. But then I discovered really it was experience that did it. I don't know if you remember when a child fell through the railings at an office block at Tallcross and died. And that's because the regulations hadn't caught up with the law. Office spaces had different regulation for the handrails on their staircases, where it had to be 4 inches for domestic and 6 inches for commercial. This being a commercial had 6 inches gaps, and this kid had fallen through. So with that on his back, Muir Somerville went, I'm not getting involved in anything, he's not getting it. But then what I did, I started going around in places that had subsequently been given building warrants after me, which breached the regulations much more severely than I did. And I drew up a list of 20 places, and the first place I reported to them was Pizza Express in Stockbridge. And they had to close the restaurant and readjust all their fire escapes. And it still doesn't comply as much as what my one did. But I thought, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to have any pals in Edinburgh. And other places were proprietor-led organisations, and I didn't want to disrupt anyone else's business. That was making my point. So here we are, how about 16 years later, it's been like this. 8 years ago, on the last day of the school holidays, the kids had broken and started a fire and burnt the roof off it. And I was in Spurtle going, oh, Norrie Rounds had a fire in his pub. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I bet you it's a big insurance job. Well, I never claimed my insurance because my insurance started humming and hawing about this claim, that claim, a fire in an empty pub and all the rest of it. You can imagine the suspicions. I knew I was going to have a problem with insurance. So they just spent £250,000 putting an anti-Gormley statue in the water least just past me. So I thought, better tidy up the site and put a cheap alternative on the roof and applied for a 6-year planning consent while I could sort out the insurance and all the rest of it. And it went to the planning department. The Green councillor said they were looking to refuse it, and the Labour councillor said, why don't we have a site visit? And the Green councillor who was chairing that planning committee said, no, I pass it every day, it's fine as it is. So here we are 8 years later, and it's still the same as what it was. But now it's had 8 years of rain pouring into it, and all the floors inside are destroyed now with the wet harry. And that's creative thinking from our councillor. Who was the Green councillor? I wouldn't like to mention his name. As I said earlier, this was the boundary between New Haven and Leith and Edinburgh. And when you crossed this bridge, this was for the Bowtows, as that's what they called the locals from New Haven. And if you were courting a girl from New Haven, you were a Leither, you didn't come across that bridge. Is that right?
The Southside Community Council needs your help. A push was made locally to have more engagement with younger people in the area. Folk who had experience in community organising and the energy to tackle long-standing issues. Yet in less than 1 year since the Community Council elections, we have lost our chair, vice chair, engagement officer and our secretary. all to the ongoing housing crisis. All office bearers were well established in the south side for years and were fully embedded in the locality through community groups, volunteering, employment and socially. But because the City of Edinburgh Council and the Scottish Government refused to make any meaningful movements towards tackling the self-confessed housing emergency, it is extremely difficult to even stay in an area long enough to engage in politics. The average tenancy length in Edinburgh is under 18 months. It's hardly long enough to stay on the electoral register, let alone stay on a community council. This is directly due to skyrocketing rents, exacerbated by Airbnbs, purpose-built student accommodation, and the rolling back of rent controls. The south side will have no actual community before long. It will just be the passive bearer of transient student populations as the local communities are steadily priced out to maximise rental profits for private landlords and the fringe. Not unless we act. This is a call out to the people of the south side and Dunby Dykes who care about their community and want to fight to protect it. Save your local community council. Join in. Get your local interest groups to get involved and use this avenue of local democracy to the full. No one will do this for us. We must do it for ourselves.
I'm still here. Are you still here? I tell you what, I just lost my chat. Where's my chat going? Is it this one here? Oh, right, it's there. Here we go. Right. So, incidentally, in yesterday's X of phrase, I was having some tete-a-tete with some angry idiot. Oh, I saw this earlier, right, man. I saw this on Instagram, man. I just was like, I can't deal with these Novara people. I mean, like, look at this, right?
It's not me.
Listen to this.
I have more in common and more shared interests with a Tommy Robinson supporter than I do Lakshmi Mittal.
I don't need to hear Ash Sarkar, or whatever her name is, Zio Caesar, this class pivot thing, man. I just can't deal with it. Look, I just can't deal with it, you know? It's just shameless. It's just because they want to occupy this space of like, we're going to be the people that talk about everything. It's like these middle class people, you're not going to do anything to help the cause. You know? They flew the ID poll flag relentlessly. They ostracized. I've made the point many times, but pre whatever you say about Musk and all the rest of it, a complete teapot. But pre-Musk Twitter, it was completely gentrified. It was a cancel culture orgy, and they got rid of all those working class voices, all those Raj football voices. So many people that said all kinds of uncomfortable things, but they got challenged. It was a much more open landscape, and these type of people were the people that relentlessly had these people excommunicated, banned, outed the whole bit, you know, and now suddenly these are the avatars of class politics. It is fucking shameless. It is fucking shameless. They should have some fucking dignity and be like, you know what, we got it wrong. Like we're definitely know the people to be. Nah, no chance of that, eh? Unreal. The whole of the city of Edinburgh is being cleared. The recent history of Edinburgh is brutal. It is absolutely brutal. And I've said it many times, if we had broadcasting, if this was Glasgow, if what had happened to Edinburgh had been happening in Glasgow, there would be plays on it, the Citizens about it, there would be documentaries, there would be short films, the BBC Scotland would be talking about it, the Citizens would be talking about it, it would be in the papers, but we don't get that. And when people like me try to get that, you know, I've sat at the top table in Pacific Quay. I've sat there and spoke to the chief executive of the channel and the head of commissioning and gave them the full bit and all the rest of it. I had my arse felt by them. But what I wanted to talk about and demonstrate and create was an insight into the, you know, in my own inimitable funny way, was about what's happened to this city, and that was like 2018. So look at where we are now. I wrote about things satirically that have come to fruition in reality, in more than one things that I couldn't even have imagined have happened. Class video. He should have named that Green councillor. I'll name him. It was Chaz Booth. It was Chaz Booth who said, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine as it is." And you can bet your bottom dollar, if Norrie was an old school tie, or he wanted to build some purpose-built student accommodation, he would have been given his planning permission fucking by the next morning. But Norrie comes from somewhere that they didn't like, i.e. the working class. So we know. So these people. Some guy yesterday was having a going on at me. Now I made a wee video earlier in the week. I think it was last week or this week. I asked people to share the content. I hate that term, but share the material because of algorithmic suppression and all the rest of it. And it's true. It's especially on YouTube. I'll give you an example. So the video of Norrie went on the Discontent channel and it got 130 views. And we put the same video on TikTok, which you'll see here. And same video on TikTok. Where is it? Here. Can you see that? 105,000 views. If you look at there.
It's doors open day this week.
So you get 105,000 views on TikTok and 130 on YouTube. Go figure. Norrie, Grand Slam winner. Norrie's one of the soundest guys. He divides opinion. But personally, I think he's a fantastic guy, a very interesting guy, Norrie. And we don't agree on everything, far from it, but he's certainly got the council's number on a lot of issues. But Edinburgh has been failed by the council. I actually had an interview yesterday. I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago with a journalist from the Financial Times. He's called Matthew Partridge. Matthew Partridge. He's like a financial journalist guy, and he's writing a book about the fringe. And he got in touch with me, and we had a long discussion about it. And it was interesting, We touched on a few things that I hadn't even thought about. Oh, there's one other thing before we go. Keeping things local. For those of us that are still here, we've actually got a healthy audience this morning. So thanks for everybody that's stayed with us. Do you know, Bawjaws McGlinty, morning Coos Tail. I always like this thing where people apologise for what they perceive as being late. And listen, here's another thing as well, right? See if you watch What the X after it's been live, because a lot of you do. We get about 2,000 views now. That we can ascertain about 2,000 views per show by the time it comes to the next show. You're more than welcome to donate to Discontent if you're watching us on catch up. If you're one of those people, now we will be shifting the time for a new schedule as the winter months come in. I'm going to try and keep the morning show because I like the morning show, but we'll probably be introducing a new show. But it also, in all honesty, it is dependent on resources. So that's why we ask. You see, if you can donate, if you can help. Donate to Discontent, to What the X. It's very much appreciated. People on subscribe stuff here. Where is he? The Laird. Yes, actually. These Celtic supporters are the best of us. Mosho McKenna. Now, before we go, So the Banana Flats, right? Cable's Windhouse is due for renovation. And the Laird, I think I mentioned this maybe last week as well, but Norrie is an Edinburgh institution. Yes, absolutely correct. I mean, honestly, Norrie Rowan is he's absolutely pivotal to the success of the Old Town in many ways, and he was a pioneer. He went in there and redeveloped so much of that property there that was just lying to waste, and graft like you would not believe. Phenomenal graft. So yes, certainly someone who has put blood, sweat and tears into this city and loves the city as many of us do. We still love the city, we still love Edinburgh. Gotta love Edinburgh, right? So this was interesting because Cable's Windhouse of Banana Flats is suddenly due for renovation. And the pessimist, the cynic in me is not convinced that this is entirely innocent. And as with Balfront Tower, I think it was in London, that residents were moved out for the renovations to take place. Many of those people never found their way back into those premises. And I suspect something similar is going to happen down at the Banana Flats. But meanwhile, we had some enthusiastic art washing graffiti artist called the Rebel Bear, who created this mural of two folk falling out a building in an embrace. It doesn't seem like the most sensitive mural, in my opinion. Just like in Muirhouse. Is that what happened, Victoria? Did they tell people they were renovating, move them out and never move them back in again? It's a tactic that they use. To be honest, the Cable's Windhouse, it's iconic because of its history, the train spotting, the whole thing. Where is it? This is the Reynolds. It's my own post I was looking for here. It's things like this. You get this. This was a great article, by the way. I'm going to retweet it. It was a great article exposing the hypocrisy of these feminists who claim to be interested in the welfare of women and girls, but are incapable of mentioning anything to do with the annihilation of Palestinian women and girls. I've retweeted it there on my account. It's well worth reading, by a lady called Dr. I think it's maybe Hannah Brunskill Evans. A fantastic article. I would certainly suggest anybody reads it. This was the mural. What the fuck is that? But yes. So you've got you've got these miniatures. At the point at which you've got brutalist miniatures of a housing scheme. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know what do we make of that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of that sort of bourgeois fetishization, isn't it? That's as close to some fuckers will get. Oh yes, that's the Banana Flat, Cable's Windhouse in Edinburgh. They have it on their fucking office desk or something. A brutalist miniature. They fucking shite themselves to ever go in there. But what can we say? Look at that. Apparently those people protesting shouldn't be protesting what's been done to this place. I mean, it's stomach churning. It is stomach churning. Knocked their houses down and rebuilt them, then made most for mid-market rent. Yeah. I don't know what I suspect what they'll do with the Banana Flats is take those long-term council tenants and offer them, say, oh, it's going to take longer to do this and that, and why don't we can do this? We'll give you this place here and all the rest of it, and they'll just very craftily transition that that population that are, the council tenants that are in that property. I have absolutely no faith whatsoever that what's going to happen there is going to be in the interest of the existing tenants. But what do you folk think? What do you think? An interesting badge. I won't say who it is that's had these made up. I'm sure you can probably guess. It wasn't me. Right. The late great Paul Reiki there. I don't know why, when I posted that response to Zara Sultana, I don't know what happened, but the phone put Paul Reiki in there as well, so don't know what happened there. Right, we've drawn to the end, I believe. I'm sure there was a couple, I've got some things written down here, but I'm feeling the call to Greg's or similar is calling me. So I'd like to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank everybody who's joined us this morning. Well, here we are. Speaking as a muralist, most murals make places look like slums, especially on brutalist architecture. Why do we all of a sudden need some fucking idiots? Why do we need your mural on the banana flats, pal, you know? The commodification and the branding of Leith and all the rest of it, man, it does, man. It's kind of, that's the whole point, It's like, why don't we have any broadcasting? Why don't we have any local broadcasting? Why don't we have any media that can show that so many people in Edinburgh are just like, fuck is all this? But we didn't have any means to focus that or, channel that or express that. I tried my best. I assure you, not only did I try my best, I got fucking diddled trying to try my best, right? That's why I'm here. In many ways, that's why I'm here. You'll just have to trust me on that. The tram line's already there, mate. The tram line's already at the flats. That article was 100%. Heather is brilliant on feminists not supporting Gaza. Absolutely. He is a bit live, laugh, love style too. Totally shite. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. There was one that I was going on about because it was like the drug death thing, and he'd done like William Wallace with a needle in it. And it was dead obvious, but it was kind of like, it's like an issue that's close to my heart. So I was like at the time, but it is more or less nonsense. Right, we've come to a nice sort of slow pedestrian climb down of all things. Yes, I was quite sincere in what I was saying. Thanks for joining me. It's great to see so many have joined this morning. Keep your eyes peeled. Like I said, donate, subscribe. TV news is being centralised. It's all absolutely, everything's being centralised, But we've got to resist. We must resist somehow. Some way, somehow. Is Victoria still with us? Is there a national demo? Is there a Palestine demo tomorrow in town? We'll have to look at the SPSC if there's a demo in town, and maybe I'll try to attend that. Thank you very much, cracking show, Bob. Much appreciated, Arpignon. I'm going to leave you with one of my own productions. It's a piece that I created a few years ago about an issue very close to my heart that I tend to talk about a lot. Yes, there is a Palestine demo tomorrow, so that will be at 1 o'clock at the Mound or something like that. 1 o'clock at the Mound, I would expect. Well, I will be there. And I'm going to leave you with this. It's an ode to an incredible lady, and it was a collaboration between myself and my long-term musical collaborator, and Daddy Scotty, and a wee pitching from the ambassador's wife as well. He was involved in this a wee bit as well. So I'm going to leave you with this morning. Song for Layla. Take care, everybody. Catch you soon.
Get up, stand up, and miss a fight for your right. Get up, stand up, and miss a fight for your right. Pick up your gun, miss a go grab your knife. Defend yourself, miss a yo save your life.
fedayeen who picked up the fallen Arab banner. Then one unlikely figure began to emerge from among the rest. Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat.
Whether we live or miss or whether we die, we never know the truth unless we give it a try. That is a love in my heart, they say you cannot deny. Say Jah I'm me protector, I'm me shield, I'm me guide. And when me in need, me say them always provide. They look on the kids and me say how them a cry. How can the wicked man them fucking deny? Whether we live or miss or whether we die, get up, stand up and me say fight for your right. Get up, stand up and me say fight for your right. Pick up your gun, me say go grab your knife. Defend yourself, me say yo, save your life. Get up, stand up and me say fight for your right. Get up, stand up and me say fight for your right. Pick up your gun, me say go grab your knife. Defend yourself, me say yo, save your life. Whether we live or me say whether we die, we never know the truth unless we give it a try. That is a love in my heart, they say you cannot deny. Say Jah I'm me protector, I'm me shield, I'm me guide. And when me in need, me say them always provide. They look on the kids and me say how them a cry. How can the wicked man them fucking deny? Whether we live or me say whether we die.
These fedayeen who picked up the fallen Arab banner. Then one unlikely figure began to emerge from among the rest. Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat.
I'm me protector, I'm me shield, I'm me guide. And when me in need, me say them always provide. They look on the kids and me say how them a cry. How can the wicked man them fucking deny? Whether we live or me say whether we die.